Hello everyone, welcome to the announcements and overview for this week, what I'm labeling weeks 11 and 12. I understand that the video that's shown here, the one from the posting on December 1st, it actually posted at 1 a.m., went in and out of existence on here, blinking in and out. So I'm not sure what happened with that. I tried to have it back up on Thursday, and then it was up again yesterday and today. So hopefully you got a quick view of it. There was nothing substantial that was outside of what we already were working on and understood. It was just giving you an overview of the feedback files and that kind of stuff. And then the breakdown of that rough draft Dropbox, but everybody was able to go through it, seems just fine. So I'm going to take you guys today, reminder of some of those things, and then take you guys through the Dropbox here on Final Draft. Final Draft, there's nothing surprising, obviously. Cultural analysis final. It's just now, it's 1,000 words is the minimum on here. Most of you are already good with that in terms of the rough drafts from what I saw. Just make sure you understand that's without the heading of the works cited page. Meet all the basic requirements that were detailed in the prior Dropboxes. That includes the pre-writing instructionals, outlining, and drafting. Those covered things on formatting of intros, bodies, quotes, images, citations, works cited, etc. Include 2 to 4 quotes per body paragraph, and follow the quote format of intro, give, explain, defend, quote for all quoted support. Include at least 2 images in the final draft. Very quickly, I say with the formatting of quotes and formatting of works cited pages, you know, the majority of you guys have picked up on this and improved and are doing this very well here at the end of the term. The vast majority of the class. There are a few students who are still having real issues with how to format quotes, including how to put quotation marks in, what an in-text citation is, what it looks like, what belongs between the parentheses in that parenthetical, and the works cited pages themselves. There have been separate sets of instructions on works cited pages and separate readings, and there were links included in the last Dropbox on works cited pages that actually took you to demonstration pages that give you an additional list of instructions that were just the same exact thing that were in your textbook, and then another example page that showed you a layout. So those are 3 example pages. You have 2 in your textbook from the reading and 1 from the All Purdue page that showed you exactly what the page looks like on a works cited. The requirements have been listed in several different locations and several different times for the instructions there. So with some of you, getting the works cited page wrong at this stage is simply not adhering or following along with some of the instructionals. I mean, you're showing your hand there of not doing the reading again at the end of the term. A couple of emails that I got being about, you know, what exactly am I getting wrong on works cited page? Well, what you're getting wrong is you're not actually doing the reading in the textbook. There are 2 pages from that chapter that show you exact examples of what that's supposed to look like with the formatting, the 1-inch margin for the top line, and then hanging indent for everything else, double spacing, no after spacing, how the title is formatted, and those kinds of things. So when you're asking me questions about stuff that you've had instruction in triplicate at least on these things, it just seems as though you're just not following along and actually reading the materials that you're being assigned to read. So make sure that those are corrected for the end of the term. If you don't understand them still, go back to those Dropbox instructions or go back to your textbook and look at those instructions one more time in the reading. Include the in-text citations for all quotes and images. If a text box is needed to include this image citation, those are certainly acceptable. Image citations can be below or next to images. The choice is yours. They're not typically above. Typically only titling goes above on images, but the bottom or side, you know, depending on how you want to lay it out on your page. I've removed the presentation requirement for the semester, so we're doing the images in lieu of those. Include an MLA formatted works cited page. The works cited page will have at least 12 sources on here, 10 for the references in your research along with 2 entries for the images. So 10 for the sources for your paper and 2 for the images themselves. If you have more, include them, obviously. All MLA formatting applies, Times New Roman 12-point font, double spacing, centered title, last name and page number, third person, no contractions, etc. You guys are familiar with what the assignment is. This is just another overview of what the actual phenomenon of a cultural analysis is. You know, how you're approaching a cultural analysis of a phenomenon that took place, and you're demonstrating the cultural impact of that phenomenon. These are just more examples. The final draft again must be 1,000 words minimum. Follow the basic requirements from the rough draft, including quote and image requirements, and all basic requirements from drafting apply. So these were included from the drafting stage here. This is just a repeat on your information, so if you need to review it, and then complete this final. And remember to include at least 2 direct quotes in the per body paragraph and 2 images in the paper overall. No block quotes, as a reminder on there. For those of you still confused about what a citation looks like, this has been included in several of these. This is an in-text citation. If you need to use a citation generator, by all means, NightCite is available. And then on the works cited page, just as a review on here, works cited page must include at least 10 sources that are alphabetized in MLA format. Images do not count as part of the 10. Remember, that's an additional 2. And then include all necessary information for the reader to locate the original source. You have basics that are required there, so make sure that you follow through with them. On NightCite, if you go to the left-hand side of the page and click on Multimedia and click on Resource Type, where you're getting your information from, it'll already diagram what information you need to include there for what type of source you're going to include on your works cited page. That includes the images under Multimedia and Resource Type. So that's the basics. That's the basic overview for the final draft. It's still the same exact parameters as rough draft, just now you're moving into the final word count, and you must have the images and the 10 sources included. So, including the works cited page on here. Now, on remaining with feedback, we're talking about the feedback for the rough draft, anything else coming, the final draft of the argumentation that you guys will be getting over this next week. With the exception of a few students, the feedback for the remaining assignments will be rubric-based. For the remaining files, a comment bubble containing a letter grade and minor corrections will be included at the top of each feedback file. Students will match their letter grade to the comments on the grading rubric to note general categories in need of revision. So if you click here and download the rubric, you got an A, B, C, D category. You line up your grade with the set of instructions and commentary that follows on that rubric to note which things you still need to address. Obviously, if you have an A, there's pretty much nothing to address. If you have a B, C, or D, it varies depending on what the rubric says. If I see that you're just have some issues with wording and maybe a little bit on support and things like that, you're probably in a B category and there are minor revisions to make. If you're C or D, you're in the area of still having sentence level issues, inadequate support that's used is used incorrectly, citing the sources is not incorrectly, the format of the quotes is incorrect, those kinds of things. And those are all noted on that rubric in terms of how your tone, audience perspective, all that kind of stuff that's included. No presentations for the semester, but images are required on the paper. This is just to get around that multimedia requirement. So many students with your software issues, the tech issues, abundant throughout the term. Another course of mine, I tried to do a presentation requirement there, and we just had so many submission issues on both ends. The D2L having issues, and then the students themselves having issues. So we'll remove that out for this one and be able to take care of that component with just images on the paper. The grades, as I said, my apologies, this should say cultural analysis. The cultural analysis one, the drafts that went in for peer editing, those submissions, the comments, submissions on those are all posted. The grades are posted on those. I already submitted those in. And now the argumentation final draft grades will be posted over the next week to 10 days. Most of you will be in the next week, but by the weekend, but 10 days for some of those ones that came in later, depending on submission days and times. These will be primarily rubric based on the feedback. I will include additional commentary for some of the students who have some extenuating circumstances and issues on the writing still, but for the most part they will be rubric based. Simply running out of time in terms of the grading schedule, but the open communication that you've had with me, make sure that it's still maintained so that I know what's coming in when, and if there's going to be late work, I'll comment on just a moment. You know, when those open lines of communication are kept open effectively, like you guys have been, I'm able to allow for some of this stuff. Just make sure that you're still sending me forward, that, you know, I still am waiting on one doctor's note and then something else from someone for work, so make sure those get into me so that I can clear the late work on those ones. Otherwise, the ones that I'm agreeing to coming in are partial credit on those. So students still planning on submitting late work, make sure to contact me this week. There will be very little I can do after this week due to the volume of grading and the term's end. Note that everything that I get must be to me before December 15th on the late work stuff, and then final assignment things December 17th. So final drafts. And also, guys, when I say contact me, also remember that if you're submitting something, if you submit something late that we've already discussed, submit that in there and then email me to let me know which assignment was submitted where. So if I'm done with that category, I go back and actually give you some credit on it. The cultural analysis final drafts are due no later than Thursday, 17th of December by 11:30 p.m. So this week and next, that's all you're working on is finalizing this paper. Final grades for the term must be in student services by within 48 hours at the end of your class term, which means Thursday afternoon. Therefore, any work not received by that day and time will not be included in the final grade, including the cultural analysis final draft and other works allotted for late submissions. I set my download for this time, and I begin grading that evening, 11:30, 12 o'clock for a couple hours, and then I grade all day that Friday and then into Saturday, and I have to have those in by that time. I don't know what time, the day and time they post them for you guys. I think within 24 to 48 hours after that. But if your submission is not in by this day and time, it will not be included in that final grade. So make sure that you understand that. And then students who have not attended at least one tutoring session and forwarded their form to me or had it forwarded still have this week and next to get those completed. I can't say for sure which days they will be available next week. I know that Monday and Tuesday for sure. Wednesday and Thursday I'm not positive in terms of the tutoring. That you'll have to check those your own by contacting the Academic Support Center or NetTutor. The cultural analysis, students should still apply all MLA formatting and formal writing guidelines. There should be no use of contractions. The entirety of the writing must be in third person only. I stated this on here. I'm not totally opposed to some of you who have had this personal experience stuff with the topic that you're talking about. If you want to include some of your own personal experience here, particularly in your intro and conclusion. You know, I'm not saying that it couldn't be something elemental inside the body paragraphs, but in your appraisal of the whole thing, if you do have this vast experience, I got 3 of you right now that have topics that are pretty unique, and I have not had topics exactly like these before, and you do seem to have some vast experience yourself in this category. So though you're able to find sourcing, some of your own experience stuff applies here as well. So maybe if you wanted to add additional commentary from personal experience in the intro and conclusion, that would be effective and that would be acceptable, just so that we are not using it for supportive claims and body paragraphs, right? Okay, so all quotes must follow MLA formatting. All quotes must be followed by in-text citation. All right, so that covers everything on here that I think everyone needs to know for the end of the term here. Late work is the biggest thing outstanding right now for 5 or 6 of you. A couple of you, just a couple of little lingering things that you got wrong you were resubmitting. But for the most part, everyone's been trying to get through, and you're almost there. So get these completed and in. And then if you have any questions on the finalization of materials or the late work, be sure to email me, and I will be in contact as soon as I can. The emailing back and forth will be a little bit, it'll be a little less frequent here at the end of the term. I have a little bit less time on Mondays and Tuesdays, and quite often Fridays at the end of the term here. So if you don't get an email back right away, just send it once more, folks. I try to respond always Monday, Wednesdays, Fridays. I've been responding most days of the term, as most of you have seen, but now that's getting a little bit more difficult to do just because the amount of things that are going on Monday, Tuesdays, and Fridays. A lot of meetings on Fridays and a lot of student interaction on Mondays and Tuesdays. So Again, if you don't get a response right away, just forward the email again. All right. If I don't hear from you, I'll assume that everything's going good on the drafting, and I do look forward to reading these in their final iterations. Several of them are very fascinating, and all of them are interesting. Okay. Thank you, guys. Bye.